So we have a new moon in Capricorn coming up on January 18th. Now, for those of you who are new to my page, I'm Mother Priestess. And for our coven work together, whether you've been with us for a while or are looking for a coven to work with, we work with the new moons that happen before the eclipses, which this year is going to be a new moon in Capricorn, January 18th, before we get to the February 17th, the new moon in Aquarius solar eclipse. Now, the reason that we do this is to prepare us for when the nodes switch. So come a couple years from now, we're going to see the North Node move into Capricorn, and the work that we've done on the new moons before we get to that North Node in Capricorn, that work will then ground in that eclipse period and time once the Capricorn eclipses do start. So this new moon coming up on January 18th, that is in Capricorn. As a coven, we're going to be focused on the power of structured authority, which I'm super excited for. Kind of beyond words, okay? We have two different new moons in Capricorn. We have one in 2026, one in 2027, before we get to eclipse time with Capricorn energy. So we'll have two different workings, and this first one is a ritual to create an anointing oil, so that once we get to our next work, come 2027, we're able to anoint that work with the oil that we make during this ritual. Now, if you don't entertain, enjoy, participate in this ritual, you can still use oil for anointing the next one. Every single coven work that we do is set up so that you can leave and enter at any given time. So there's no restrictions on it. It's a space of, join us when you want to and leave when you want to and come back if you want to, etc. So without further ado, we're going to get into the ritual stuff. I have a feeling, because TikTok only allows me to do 10-minute videos, this might be a extra part series because it's really detailed. It's Capricorn, okay? So we're getting into the details and we're going to be really specific about it. First things first, before in my work, and there's a raven that just flew by. I love you, Raven. In my work with the coven, which if you want to join the coven Discord, it's going to be linked on my website. We're going to be keeping a lot of conversation about this ritual, and it's also full of practitioners, so if you wanted a place to join with other practitioners, beautiful. But back to this ritual, okay? Before we do any ritual together, we're always going to, before we begin, give gratitude to the spirits. So gratitude, reverence, and love to the highest spirit, to the goddess, to God, to the all-mother, to the all-father, to the spirits who are of the highest elevation, warded, encompassing, love, truth, free, honor, glory, elevation, gratitude, reverence, justice, magic, spirit, liberation, free, and love. Gratitude, reverence, and love to the indigenous spirits of the land where I sit, talk, walk, and stand, where this work will be processed, and where other people in the coven are practicing this work as well. Gratitude, reverence, and love to you speak to your ancestors how you want to. This is how I talk to mine. Gratitude, reverence, and love to my ancestors who are of the highest elevation, warded, encompassing, love, truth, free, honor, glory, elevation. Gratitude, reverence, justice, magic, spirit, liberation, free, and love. Gratitude, reverence, and love to all the tools, all the elements, everything that we're going to include in the ritual. And then we begin, okay? So this work being of the power of structured authority, we're going to sit with that Saturn Capricorn energy, knowing that we're going to have with the North Node purpose and destiny stuff that's going to be related to structure, authority, hierarchy, okay, our place in the world as well. And that Saturn sometimes duels out hard lessons or just lessons in general, right? We're going to take the time to set up a structure that is very detail oriented in the ritual itself. Now, one of the things about the rituals I do with the coven is that sometimes they're really specific. Sometimes we have room to make decisions on a personal level because we are practicing this within our own personal spaces and at our own personal altar, even though we're under the same cover together with the same instruction sort of energy behind it. So for this one, as I read the instructions, you can do this kind of in any order that you would like to. There's lots of instructions, there's lots of steps to this. So if you feel like one needs to go before the other, get creative, okay? The way that I speak it is not necessarily the way that it has to be done. So I guess first what you're going to need a bowl, preferably a fireproof bowl. We are going to put a candle inside of it in case there's mishaps, okay? But also, if you just have a bowl that you use in your rituals and you want to use that, beautiful. You're going to need water. You're going to need flowers. They can be dried or they can be fresh. Again, that's sort of up to your discernment. I know for me, there's dried dried flowers I've used in other rituals that I'll be including in this. But if you wanted to bring fresh ones or dried ones that haven't necessarily been included in other rituals, there's a lot of different choices to choose from. Okay, so choose as you will. The certain flowers that personally I'm going to be using lavender, peonies, and roses. The buds specifically, not the thorns of the roses. So the petals of the flowers themselves, right? Beautiful. Okay. you're going to need an oil of your choice. Now, everyone works with oil differently. Those oils are kind of wrapped up in practices on a different level, and everyone has different relationships with different oils. So if you're thinking about your hierarchical structure, the power of authority within those hierarchical structured places and spaces, when you think about your Capricorn related work in your life, if there's a certain carrier oil, if there's a certain oil that you have a certain kind of relationship with that you feel like is going to be a good oil to sit with or call on for this, that's going to be the oil that you're going to want. Personally, for this, I have not made my decision yet on what oil I will be using. Castor oil is one of my sort of like go-to oils, but there's also other oils that I still need to sit and talk with spirit about on a specific level. So I'm still undecided on this part, but take your decisions up with you and your spirits on what is going to work the best. We're also going to need water. Okay. You're going to need salt. And I want to go back to the oil for a second. Some of it you're going to need for while the candle is burning, and a 7-day white candle. That's the other part. I don't know if I got to that yet, because we're going to anoint the rim of the candle with the oil. And then the extra oil, okay, so keep some. You know how in baking instructions, they're like, you need half a cup of sugar for this thing, but you also need to save a half a cup for this other stuff. Okay, similarly speaking, for this ritual, save most of the oil. You know, you're not going to need too much to anoint the rim of the candle and the bowl. We're anointing the rim of both the candle and the bowl. Okay, we're going to get to those steps in just a second. But with the rest of the oil, once the candle is burned down, you take it out, you clean it. We are going to use that container, the candle, the glass on the outside. We're going to use that to make the oil itself with the flowers and with the salt that's included in the ritual. Okay. The other thing I want to say about this too, I have a feeling this is going to be an introduction video. We're going to talk about maybe like the steps of the ritual in the next video. But when it comes to safety precautions for this in the coven for 7-day candle work, especially for people who have small children and have animals around, where the altar might not necessarily be able to hold a 7-day candle without like, maybe, is it safe? Like that sort of energy behind it, right? What we've done in the coven before is take a baking sheet or a tray of some kind that you might use with your work, do the work on a tray of some kind, and then you can put it in the oven for safety precautions if you have an oven around you. Sweet little trick that we picked up with our first work together, the new moon at Aquarius earlier this year. So shout out to the coven for helping me figure that out, because that's pretty ingenious in my opinion. I've stuck other candles in the oven because of that. It's pretty cool. But yeah, so if you're worried about safety of having a 7-day candle, or maybe you're new to working with 7-day candle ritual stuff, etc., or you just feel maybe a little bit iffy. I have a new kitten around, and like my older cat is chill with that kind of stuff, but the kitten is, we're getting there, right? Okay. So I'll probably be putting this, at least for a part of the time, in the oven as well. If you're baking or using the oven, you can always take it out, put it on the counter until you're ready to put it back in. Always use your personal discernment when it comes to, well, working with anybody, but also here working with us as well. I think for this one, that is going to be kind of like, I'm going to wrap it up. So those are the ingredients that you need. Again, a bowl, some kind of fireproof bowl, a white 7-day candle, water, salt, an oil of your choice, the flowers that you'd like to include with this. And I think that's it. That is it. I think we're going to talk about the instructions in the next one, because like I said, this is kind of like a pick and choose your own order. So we're going to talk about order and what doing things in a certain order will do to the ritual, which I'm excited to offer to you. I love that kind of stuff, so I'm excited to talk about it in the next video. The other thing that needs to be known in this one is that the new moon is going to be exact at 1951 UTC, January 18th of 2026. So translate that time to your time zone. And just like we did with the new moon in Aquarius earlier this year, we're going to do it on a personal level. If you're not able to do it right at that time, that's okay. But we're going to do it as close to the start of that new moon as you possibly can. So like starting the ritual as soon as you possibly can once that new moon goes exact. Again, if you have like work or other obligations or things that have come up, wait until after the new moon is exact, and then the soonest time that you can do it after that. But try not to do it beforehand. then you're going to have things come in before the eclipses start turning. And we want to keep it pretty like on eclipse time, so that when the eclipses in Capricorn get there, it starts to turn pretty exactly with when the eclipses start to happen. That's kind of an order trick as well. So anyways, gratitude, reverence, and love to you. This is going to be the introduction video. We're going to look at specifics in the next one for the instructions and the order of things. We're going to learn about some order magic as well. Again, the Coven Discord is on the website, and I'll see you in the next one. Talk to you soon. Also true.